Okay, now a few words about MELISA, of course. So MELISA is the European project for closed life support system, aiming, of course, the preparation of long-term missions. So far you are quite well aware, and I will not be back on this issue, that the main part of the space mission today are transporting all the metabolic consumable for the crew member, I mean oxygen, water, food. Yeah? So it's a fully open system that you have here, and we transport everything. And what we want to do, in fact, with MELISA, and in order to reduce the mass for longer mission and give the possibility to launchers to go to travel to longer destination, in fact, what we want to do is to close completely the cycle of mass, at least in terms of human metabolic needs. So the MELISA project is in fact inspired by a terrestrial ecosystem, which is a lake that you have here on the left-hand side. Yeah? And of course, we do not have today the knowledge to be able to completely duplicate a very complex terrestrial ecosystem at the level of the safety requirement and optimization which is necessary for the space mission. So as you know as well, when an engineer doesn't understand a process, he likes to cut it in slides, the salami tactic, in order to understand each slide and then connect the slide together. So it's exactly what we do with the MELISA project. You have here the lake. At the bottom part of the lake, you have the organic sludge, the waste. A bit higher, you have a bit of light which has been passing through the upper layer of water. So you manage to have a photoheterotrophic activity. A bit higher, as you are closer to the surface, you will have a bit of dissolved oxygen. So this means you can oxidize the ammonium, which is mainly coming from urine and the protein degradation. And at the top part of the lake, you have light, you have all the sub-degradation product of the lower layers, so you can have photosynthesis. This is a very complex process by itself, but if you take each part and you put it in, let's say, a tank, yeah, and you try to manage the flow between this tank, you have the MELISA project. So it's really a coupling of different chemical processes together, aiming to produce oxygen, water and food from the waste of the mission. So who are the MELISA partners? Who contribute to MELISA? Today, roughly 30 European organizations, including Canada. You probably know that Canada is a partner of the European Space Agency. And we have quite a large number of countries that you have here, the complete list. We have university, we have public research center, we have SME, but we have as well some world leaders in the aim of the topic we are developing for MELISA. 11 of these partners have signed a memorandum of understanding. This doesn't mean that they have more rights than others, but they have specific duty in terms of IP, communication, and so on. And today, roughly 50% of the manpower of MELISA is academic. Yeah? And surprisingly enough, the prime of this activity is ESA. Normally, ESA always subcontract the task of prime, but for this very long-term activity, it has been decided that ESA will take the lead. So what are the scientific challenges of MELISA? Of course, you understand that as it is a closed loop, the efficiency of the loop depends on the weakness of the weaker point of the complete loop. Yeah? You have to be sure that all sub-processes are efficient. You have to be sure that when you will connect one process to the other one, they are compatible in terms of statics and in terms of dynamics. You need to be able to model and control the biological processes. If you want to have a complete mass balance, because this is really what we are aiming for, we are trying to reduce the mass. So you need to be sure that the complete overall mass balance of the loop fits. So you need to be able to write stoichiometric equation, roughly chemical equation, but to be able to control them in dynamic. And of course, you cannot limit yourself to carbon and nitrogen. If you look today in a newspaper, when we speak about ecology, recycling system, very generally people are aiming to discuss about the main mass, which is of course carbon and nitrogen. But in such a system that you have a lot of cycle very fast, you cannot forget the traces element. So the traces element will be endogenous, are coming from the crew member, for example, but can be exogenous as well, such as, for example, let's assume that the crew takes some antibiotics. This will have to be managed as well. Of course, you have to be able to control the long-term drift of the process and to be sure that after a certain number of cycles, this still works. And the safety, because you will have quite a large number of organisms working together. You will have plants, you will have bacteria, you will have fungi, and you have crew members as well. So this has to be absolutely controlled. And the last but not the least, you have to be sure that the product you produce with the Melissa loop are accepted by the crew members. In terms of technology, I have already expressed this, you need a robust control because by itself a loop such as Melissa doesn't work, it's totally unstable, so there is a very heavy control strategy. You need to simulate a closed loop system. Normally when you do simulation on computer, it's an open loop system. In this case it's closed loop, so this means in terms of mathematics there is as well some work to be done. You need to be able to control the microbial consortium, and a lot of the work of Melissa is done with microorganisms. So 20 years ago we did not have the tools that we have today. Today we go very far in the characterization of microbial community, so we can use it really to be able to transform processes. And of course you have to study as well the effect of space environment to such processes in terms of radiation, in terms of reduced gravity. There is a few compartments of Melissa which are multiphasic, solid, gas, liquid, and you are well aware that in reduced gravity this is quite complex. Now the management part. You have seen that it's a large consortium working together since 24 years this year, and most probably still have to work, I would say 10 to 20 years more in terms of R&D, leading potentially to space hardware. So you need to convince some investors, some national delegations, some European organizations of the need to pursue such an activity, and you need to harmonize, control a very large and multicultural group. We have mathematicians, we have chemical engineers, we have nutritionists, we have medical doctors, we have psychologists. So all these people have to work and speak the same language, which is sometimes quite an interesting issue. And of course, the knowledge which is, let's say, accumulated by the project has to be, always accessible. And this is another challenge when you have an activity for more than 20 years. You have to be sure that you can trace this, and not only with database, this is not enough. You really need to be able to follow the way of thinking, to be able to be back to historical choice you have done in the past and be able to understand why you stop this and look if the technology has not progressed and maybe reconsider some choices which were done in the past. Yeah. So Melissa is organized mainly in five parts, if you want. The really basic R&D where we do, let's say, more the laboratory work. The preliminary flight experiment, we take a little part of Melissa, we fly it, see how it behaves. The ground and space demonstration, so this is really aiming at closing the Melissa loop. Yeah? And technology transfer, I prefer to speak in terms of knowledge transfer because this is important as well to demonstrate that the activity for space is as well useful for terrestrial activity. And the last but not least, as today, communication. So basic R&D, as I explained a few minutes ago, we consider all the process of Melissa, such as a chemical process, even if you have living organisms inside. So we do mass balance, we look what is going inside, what is going outside, if any waste, and then we try to model all the process of Melissa. And this is really what we do in order to have a complete simulation of the loop. So a few examples of where we are in terms of technology. So this is, for example, the compartment 3 of the Melissa loop, mainly aiming to transform the nitrogen in an edible product for the plant and photosynthesis. So what you do, in fact, at the bottom part of this tank, it's to simplify, is a water tank. Here you send the ammonium at this part with a bit of oxygen, and at the top part you will have nitrate. So nitrate is a preference source of nitrogen for the plant. Yeah? And a difficulty to do this is you need to do it with two families of microorganisms. The first one will go from ammonium to nitrate, which is a very high poison, and then from nitrate to nitrate. And this is done by a packet bed reactor, so this means the microorganisms are more or less fixed on plastic beds, yeah? And then they will do this oxidation progressively in order to obtain the nitrate which will be necessary for the plant later on. So to give you the level of knowledge we have in these processes, here you have it's a real test. Huh? So here you can see the raw data, but I will explain it here better. So you have the input flow in terms of ammonium, which is constant, and here you modify the oxygen concentration at the input of your reactors. And if you run the model, you will have this concentration of nitrate in red, will give you the level of oxidation from ammonium to nitrate. So it's really the prediction. And in blue, you have the sampling point, so the real chemical point, who confirm that the model is working well. So this is, for us, quite important to approach all the processes of the MELISA loop, either chemical, biological, or even filtration system, with such an approach to be sure that at any step of the loop, you are able to have a complete mass balance of, in fact, to simplify, the complete Mendeleev table. We are not yet at this level, but this is what we are aiming for. Now speaking about the producer, because you have seen that in MELISA, more or less, you have three processes who transform the waste, and the last process produce the oxygen, the water, and the food. Yeah? So the producer is in fact split in two parts, the higher plant, roughly a greenhouse, and the photobioreactor, which is microalgae reactor, which is more there to transform fast CO2 in oxygen and complement the crude diet with some proteins, because it's a bit more difficult to do it with plants. So here again, same example, it's a algae photobioreactor. So this one is an old design, but it doesn't mean it's not really a problem. Here you send the CO2 coming from the crew or from the waste degradation processes. You have the lighting system around. This is of course not optimized for space today, but it's just to give you some idea. And you try to control this process. And same approach, you have it here. For example, this is the set point of what you want to do in terms of oxygen production. Yeah. And by playing with the different variables of the reactor, which are independent of the loop, such as the temperature, such as the light, you are able to really follow the set point, which is a request by, let's say, the controller system. Yeah? So this is at this level of knowledge we are going to. Now, of course, if we are well advanced today, after 20 years of work, on the microorganisms, on the fungi part, we are far less advanced in the plant part, in the greenhouse part. Why? Because plants are much more complex to model than microorganisms. They are multicellular organisms, and this is really an heavy work. And we were surprised, I must say, that also botanics exists for years, agriculture exists for years. The level of knowledge we need for our greenhouse is much higher than what exists today in conventional research. Of course, we benefit of terrestrial research as well. We have collaboration with a large number of institutes, but this level of detail is not known, and in fact is quite challenging the production, for example, in greenhouse today. So same approach, and we are really trying to characterize completely the plant and to develop first principle model mechanistic model. And we don't work with statistics, we really want to be able to follow the process by itself. So here an example of the plant chamber we are using. It's basically metabolic chamber. They are totally closed, and we try to, by series of 3 batches, we are trying to collect all the data in order to be able to establish the model. So here is how we consider the plant. I will go very fast on it, but really we try to look at all the issue of the plant in order to be able to elaborate this model. Yeah? So some example of experiment we were done with lettuce. In French, we will say, je vous raconte des salades. But this is really the objective. At the moment we do it with lettuce because it's fast growing and it allows us to collect more information. But indeed, we are considering around 30 crops at the level of MELISA. So we work as well on wheat, durum wheat, beet, soybean, and so on. So things which is important to realize as well, you cannot make a complete mass balance of the MELISA loop without looking at all the interfaces which are around. If you give wheat directly to the crew member, they are not so much interested. Yeah? So you really need to be able to transform your product in raw materials that will be able to use to prepare their recipes. But you have to be sure that these raw materials are as well at the quality you expect. So you really have to look at the complete food chain, starting from even more, how to grow the plant to be sure that you will have this concentration in sugar, protein, lipid, and so on. Yeah? Then when to harvest it, how to either prepare it fast, either store it, and how to transform it up to the raw material you will give to the cook in order to prepare the recipes. So we participate as well to some bed rest. I'm sure you all know what are the bed rest. So this is a bed rest we did in Toulouse, in the Hôpital de CHU Rangueil, and we were testing the acceptance of some of the Melissa recipes by the, let's say, the volunteers that you have here. So we did this with women bed rest as well as with men bed rest, and not surprisingly enough, we were much more popular with the women bed rest because they really like our salad or green materials, and men were a bit less convinced that Melissa was not producing entrecôte or steak frit. But okay. So anyway, you see that the level of satisfaction on a ranking scale of 0 to 9 is quite good, and that was quite an interesting result. Question which were coming from the crew member as well is there was a bit of reluctance when we were speaking about ecological system, closed system, biotechnology, and the question will always arrive at the beginning, do you use GMO? And that has been quite an exercise to convince them that even if it was high technology, we were not using GMO. And it's really a psychological issue because we don't do it. So preliminary space experiment. So in fact, we have already performed a few basic tests of Melissa in space. Of course, not the complete loop, but some part of Melissa, starting with the flight of Frank Devine, with then Pedro Duque, leaving again with Frank Devine for the second time, which are mainly microorganism culture. And at the moment, we are preparing what we call BioRat, which is in fact the coupling of the photobioreactor with an animal compartment in order really to demonstrate that you can master completely the cycle of CO2 oxygen with the producer and the consumer. It looks quite easy if you consider it very fast, because you say, oh, it's easy. On one side you produce oxygen, on the other side you consume CO2, so if you couple both, it's easy. In fact, if you really look at it a bit more carefully, you will see that you have two respiratory coefficients. The respiratory coefficient of the animal, that of course you don't control, and the respiratory coefficient of the algae. Yeah? And if you want a long-term demonstration of this cycle, not only a few weeks, but really a long-term, you need to play on the respiratory coefficient of the algae in order to equal it to the animal coefficient. And this is difficult to do because you have to play with the nutrients of the algae, and we do it by playing with different sources of nitrogen. Yeah? If we send ammonium or if we send nitrate, we don't have the same level of consumption, and this is the way to do it. So it's already quite an exercise. So this has been demonstrated already on ground during 6 weeks with the nice mice that you have here that my colleague, surprisingly enough, has the name Christophe. I wonder why, but okay, that was the exercise. And now we are at the end of phase B of the process, so this means we are really at scaling up the flight hardware. Next experiment which is planned for next year is a photobioreactor which is called Artemis, which is in fact the first step of BioRat. This is planned to fly with Samantha Cristoforetti next year, and you see this is the date for BioRat 1, and then we expect a second generation where we will be able to use in fact urine as a nitrogen supplier for the algae compartment. So you really see that we are working on each processes independently. We are looking at the flight hardware as well, but Melissa doesn't mean too much if you don't close the complete cycle. But of course you need to close it on ground before in order to be sure that you understand and demonstrate that it works before you can use it for space. So in terms of strategy, we are using 3 places to do it at the moment. The Melissa pilot plant, which is located in Barcelona. the Concordia station in the South Pole that you have here, and we collaborate as well with our colleague from BIOS in Krasnoyarsk in Russia, where we have been able to do some extensive tests. And we are dreaming of a facility which is called FIPES. I was yesterday at EAC in Köln to discuss about the analog, terrestrial analog, in order to be able to really integrate the life support issues, the psychological issues, as well as the medical issues when you do ground simulation at a very high level of closure for example, 1 year. So the Melissa pilot plant is in collecting the information coming from all the lab working on Melissa, and here you have some pictures of the internal part of the plant. So the processes, in fact, the really active part of Melissa on these pictures is quite small, is this part that you have in green here, and all the rest is hardware to be able to control the process. Well, of course, the first reaction is, this looks a bit heavy for space, but this is indeed a research tool at the moment, so we put more sensors, more actuators than most probably necessary, but in order to really be able to characterize and better control the process. But it's clear that this is more or less at the phase A of the process, kind of demonstration, and of course each step will have to be reconsidered when we will approach the flight hardware. Concordia station, so this is more looking at the water issue. This is the first mass, the water, especially if you consider as well the Asian water. So this is a membrane technology that we have developed roughly 10 years ago, which is used in Concordia full speed for the last 8 years, and they really depend on our water recycling system. It has been quite interesting to see that also in the laboratory we were working roughly at 95% of recycling, which is very high, very good. We have been forced to decrease this value in order to ease the operation of the process by the crew member of Concordia, because for robustness and safety reasons they wanted to be able to intervene at any time on the processes. Well, the level of recycling is still high, it's more or less at the level of 80–85% these days, but the operation issue is something you have to consider as well, and it's only by using this kind of facility, this kind of analog, that you can learn about the reaction of the people and the user of the processes. In terms of technology transfer, we have created 2 spin-off companies. One is called IPStar, the other one is ECOL. But we have as well some technology transfer already for other space missions than, of course, long-term ones such as Moon and Mars. For example, we are working on microbial safety issue. We have developed an instrument which is called MIDAS, you is here, who allow to be able to identify pathogen fungi or pathogen bacteria in less than 3 hours, fully automated. And this was done in collaboration with a world leader in the field. And this will be, of course, used for commercial application. For those who don't know or are not specialized of microbial identification, you have to know that today the number of hours you need between the sample and identification of microorganisms, starting from a consortium which is unknown, is more in the order of 70 hours. Yeah? So it's really a gap in terms of technological progress. Yeah? Of course, we have as well the benefit to use our know-how for the ATV cargo. For those who don't know, there is some specification to respect in terms of microbial and chemical cleanliness of the cargo. This means that this is integrated in clean room, and we have to demonstrate to our international partner, NASA and Russia, that we have a certain degree of cleanliness of all the cargo which are integrated within the ATV. For those who know a bit the corridor or the story of the space station, you are probably aware that for ATV-4, the Russians refused to open the door because some of the cargo bay were not at the level of cleanliness they were expecting. Yeah? So it has been a negotiation during a few hours, and all the activity on ATV were blocked during, I think, around 48 hours, because there was negotiation. What do we do with the cargo bag which are not at the proper level of cleanliness? So it's really a serious issue, and if you dig a bit more in the Mir history as well, it's now documented. There was a few events, a few failure of hardware due to biofilm, due to corrosion, due to the microorganisms which have been accumulated within this extremely close volume. Yeah? Other example of collaboration, this is, for example, the number of towns in Europe which are using the third compartment of Melissa. It's called the biosphere. So you see that, for example, a scaling of the little Melissa bioreactor that you have here. This is in Denmark. This is quite a big water treatment plant. We collaborate as well with Freixenet, which is a world leader of sparkling wine. And it's not French, I'm sorry, but they are Spanish. They produce a huge quantity of wine bottle per year, so they use part of the Melissa sensor. So this is quite interesting. And even if you are familiar with my colleague from NASA, you can see that a few of them are here. You have Barnes from headquarters, which is here. You have Donninger, quite a large number of people. John Seger from KSC, which is here. So this was as well a possibility when we visit the Melissa pilot plant to invite a large international community. We make some consultancy study for Airbus regarding the possibility to recycle water on board the A380, and the delay were not due to our system. And this is now another example. No, I forget one point. We did some study for Airbus, but we did as well some study for Total for the potential sizing of algae process for fourth generation of biofuel. We did as well a study for Rocket with the sizing of bioprocesses. So we have an accumulate know-how that we try to transfer as well for, let's say, conventional terrestrial application. So now a basic roadmap of Melissa, quite a simple one. I can send you the extended one if you wish, but it's quite complex. So phase one, basic R&D, where we try to characterize all the process together. You see that, in fact, the main difficulty comes with the plant, which is more or less at this level. Preliminary flight experiment with Artemis next year, and then the generation of Bio-Rad. We are still aiming to try to place a payload on a moon lander, but the moon lander at the ESA level at the moment is suffering of political issue, but we are still trying to validate this. And of course, we have the ground demonstration first with animal, and then we expect to do it with human in the FIPES facility if one day it exists. So you see that the level of challenges to close a complete system is extremely high. We have a community which exists for more or less 24 years, 25 next year, so we will do a big celebration. And there is a terrestrial interest of our technologies, but clearly we are not at the challenges in terms of funding and political support, but we are working on it. Yeah. Thank you for your attention.